Real Madrid fans, Xabi Alonso is not the problem of your team. Now, this video may be long and I'm going to explain a lot as to why Xabi Alonso is not the problem of your team. Because this one where you're saying Alonso out, Alonso is an average manager, Alonso is not a good manager. Sometimes I need to question some of his ball knowledge when you say things like this. Like, do you know who Xabi Alonso is? Xabi Alonso is actually very good for a manager as young as him. Let's not forget what this guy did in Bayer Leverkusen. That this guy used basically average players. Let's be realistic. Before Xabi Alonso came to Bayer Leverkusen, most of those Bayer Leverkusen players were average players. Alonso used average players to win the Bundesliga. Went on a 36-game unbeaten run in the Bundesliga. Bayer Leverkusen only lost one game that season, and that was against Atalanta. So saying that Xabi Alonso is a bad manager, is an average manager, is just willful ignorance to me. Because like, if you watch that Bayer Leverkusen team under Alonso, they were very, very, very good. Do you know what it means to use like almost below average players to win a Bundesliga, a league where Bayern Munich has been dominating for years? Bayer Leverkusen ended Bayern Munich's Bundesliga winning streak, Bundesliga trophies winning streak. You know what I mean? Xabi Alonso literally used average players to win the Bundesliga. He nearly even won the treble that year, if not for the Ademola Lookman's individual brilliance. Because let's be realistic, the only good player that Bayer Leverkusen really had was Florian Wirtz, Jeremy Frimpong, and maybe Granit Xhaka. Their whole team was average before Alonso came. Leverkusen were pretty much average. Now you see, here is where the main problem comes. Now I know that yes, Alonso is in Real Madrid now, and all the pressure is on him for him to deliver, because Real Madrid, the standards of Real Madrid are very, very, very high. And you know, all the pressure is there for him to deliver. But you see, the main person that should even be blamed as to why Real Madrid is not performing well is Florentino Perez. Because you see, the main problem with Alonso is that Alonso plays great football, but the problem is they don't have a deep line playmaker. I have been saying this thing since. They don't have a deep since Toni Kroos left Real Madrid. Real Madrid has not been the same. And I've been saying it, in this modern era of football, if you do not have a deep line playmaker in your team is going to find it very difficult to survive. In the olden eras of football was more about individual brilliance. It was more about, yes, it was more technical and was more physical back then. But football back then was more about individual brilliance. Football has changed. This modern era of football has changed. Football now is more about tactical skill, tactical ability, how you are able to read the game, how you are able to understand situations of the game. If they press you, if teams are putting pressure on your midfield or whatever, how are you going to react? Football is more about, it's like a chess game now. It's about strategy. That is exactly what football is about. How can you say that you want to win this thing and you don't have somebody that can control the tempo of the game? I beg some of you, watch those Madrid games. Every time Madrid play against high intense teams, once their midfield is put under pressure, there's a lot that goes wrong. And then plus, to even have midfielders that can constantly feed balls to Kylian Mbappe and all that stuff, it's difficult. It's not as if Adagule is a good creative midfielder, but I'm saying you need a number 8. That's what I'm talking about, a central midfielder, the deep line playmaker, the person that controls the tempo of the game. Gule is not a game controlling midfielder. His abilities rely more on attack, more on just passing and all those kinds of stuff. There's a difference between a number 10 and a number 8. Number 10 and number 8 have different roles. If you look at the teams that have won the Champions League for like the past 5 years, you will notice that every single of those teams had 1 or 2 deep line playmakers. If you go to Bayern Munich in 2020, Or let me start with Liverpool first in 2019, Jordan Henderson. If you go to Bayern Munich of 2020, Joshua Kimmich is there. He's a deep line playmaker. Not only is he a box to box, but he's also a deep line playmaker. If you go to 2021, Chelsea had Jorginho, who was actually the one controlling the game for Chelsea. The one who was actually the main dictator, somebody that controlled the game for Chelsea. That was Jorginho. If you go to 2022, when Real Madrid won the Champions League, they had Toni Kroos and they had Luka Modric. Those were the game dictators of the team. If you go to 2023, Manchester City, they had Rodri, they had Gundogan. Those were the controlling midfielders. If you go to 2024, Real Madrid had Toni Kroos. If you go to 2025, PSG, they have Vitinha and Fabian Ruiz. Those are controlling midfielders. In this modern era of football, you can't survive without a game controlling midfielder. Most of that Madrid team is full of box to box. Go and check every single top team in Europe. Almost every single of them, every single of them have a game dictating midfielder. You can't, like, if you watch Barcelona now, you will see that there are some games. If you watch Barcelona last season, especially that game against Borussia Dortmund, where we nearly got knocked out of Champions League, Pedri did not start the match. Look at how we collapsed. When Pedri now came on, Barcelona started playing better. So in this modern era of football, if you don't have a game controlling midfielder, your team is going to find it very, very hard to survive. Because who is that person that can constantly, make the game fluid for the team? Someone that can constantly feed chances to Mbappe. Imagine if Madrid gets a deep line playmaker, and then you just have Goulet and maybe somebody that will just be feeding chances to Mbappe. Because the truth about this is that Mbappe is not really receiving that many chances. The game, Madrid don't play like fluid football. Their defense is probably their best weapon right now because their attack cannot function without their midfield. Especially, let me get to that point. If your team does not have a good midfield, does not have good fluidity, somebody that can dictate the game, your attack cannot function at their best if your midfield is non-existent. If your midfield is non-existent, how do you want your attack to function? Your midfielders are the ones that are supposed to be creating the chances. They're supposed to be the ones feeding the balls to the attackers. So how do you want them to operate if your midfielders cannot function well? That's why I always say all these people that will be using stats to judge central midfielders, they're just wasting your time. Now you see, Toni Kroos has left Real Madrid. Madrid are not the same again. You have not gotten a Toni Kroos replacement. So don't blame Xabi Alonso for all this. Yes, Xabi Alonso makes some mistakes. But to say that he's an average manager is that's just far-fetched. The problem is you actually need to, fix some issues of that team. Get somebody that can control the tempo of the game. When you had the opportunity, Florentino Perez, this is on you. When you had the opportunity to sign Zubimendi right there was just for is it 100 or 70 million? You now let Arsenal sign this guy. Boom. Now look at him. Zubimendi is already balling in Arsenal. Zubimendi right now is one of the best central midfielders in the world. You had it was literally in your hands to sign Martin Zubimendi. Imagine if you sign Martin Zubimendi and look at how your team will be playing. Martin Zubimendi was on the market. There were so many deep line playmakers that was in the market. When Xabi Alonso was asking you, according to the reports I saw, Alonso was asking you that he needs a deep line playmaker. They said, transfer window is short for Real Madrid. Because the truth about this is that, fair play, you signed Dinhausen, you needed a ball playing centre back. You signed Carreras, you needed a left back. But what was the point of prioritizing the signing of Mastantuono instead of a deep line playmaker? Instead of that person that can replace Toni Kroos? And I'm telling you right now, they can't win the La Liga or the Champions League with the way this midfield is. They may not win the La Liga, and I can tell you they're not going to win the Champions League if something is not done about this. But anyhow, it's not I'm a football analyst, so I analyze what I see. Although it's not my club, but at the end of the day, I'm a football analyst, so I have to analyze football and analyze the problems of teams. And yeah, I rest my case here.